You're watching the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich. Welcome back to episode 10 of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast. I'm here with my host, Matt, and I am the co-host, Richard. On today's episode, we have a couple of topics to talk about and potential trades that could happen in the offseason. A couple of those topics will be Logan Cooley and potentially what he'll mean for this lineup if we do draft him at third overall. We have the updated cap spaces on Cap Friendly, so we can talk maybe a little bit about free agents and once again those bad contracts to pull in more prospects and picks for us. We also got an update from Tempe on when they are going to be talking about the vote for the arena deal, which will be happening June 2nd. We'll put a little bit of input on that. And then lastly, to talk about the dead contracts or bad contracts, we have a potential proposal for a Zaitsev trade from Ottawa, as they're going to need a little bit of room to sign some of those RFAs this offseason. So, as always, would you like to start, Mr. Matt?
You know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Logan Cooley, primarily for one reason. As an Arizona sports fan, I am just waiting for the disappointment, so we're getting Uri Slavkovsky. So let's talk about Logan Cooley and carbon date ourselves. Let's do this.
Yes. I mean, either way, I'm going to say this. Whether it's Slavkovsky or Cooley, I think I will be quite happy. I've seen a couple of... Let's not, put it out there completely yet, but I've seen a couple of people murmur about Slavkovsky potentially trying out for center in the NHL because of how big he is. So we could see an option there where whichever one goes at number 2, we could still potentially be pulling away with another center in this third overall pick. As for myself, what I believe to be true is I think that Logan Cooley will go at number 3, as if you look at the organizational needs of New Jersey at number 2, they already have a very young, promising roster of centermen, including Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer, and the other kid that they just drafted recently that I cannot remember his name. So they need wingers to be backed up with that great center core. And man, Slavkovsky, big physical body, already looks like a man, plays against men. Makes a lot of sense to pick up at number 2 for them.
But there are rumors going around that New Jersey, because of that surplus, could take advantage of it and then trade back.
True.
If someone's going to hop, over to second overall, what is the likelihood they're going to go after Nemec, Cooley, or Slavkovsky in your eyes?
Ooh, that's a hard one. So I personally see Cooley probably dropping to 3. And the reason I say that is because I know that a lot of scouts see Cooley and the pure offense that he can provide, the brains and everything that he has. But the downside to that is that defensively, he is not nearly as responsible. So I don't know if people are going to be willing to take him on as a risk as a centerman, as more people will say that he's more likely to be potentially a winger. This is a similar thing that happened with our own Clayton Keller. Is he originally started as a centerman until he was drafted, and then everyone, he's a winger. I don't think Cooley will be a winger. I think that if the Coyotes did pick him up, they would try him at center. But with that risk, I think that teams aren't going to trade up to second to pick him. Honestly, if I had an opinion, I think that people will jump up to second in order to take Slavkovsky or that other name that you just said, which is Simon Nemec, who I am very enamored by. I really like his play. I really like how big he is and just his overall style. So that could be a potential. And if that happens, that would be very interesting to see what Bill Armstrong does, because at number 3, if Nemec was taken at 2, then all of a sudden you can pick between Slavkovsky or Cooley. So that would be an interesting decision that the Coyotes would be in if that were to happen.
I mean, hey, think about it like this. Let's just say, hypothetically, they do get Cooley because he's this disappointing kid that's going to be a winger. Well, Clayton Keller didn't turn out that bad. And also, Dylan Gunther, he's been trying out some center over the year. You could always move Gunther to center and have Cooley on the wing. I'm just saying, it would be a pretty nice line, be a pretty nice combination. And Slavkovsky, pretty much the same exact design, except for try him out at center, worst case scenario, he goes over to the wing. I would assume his game would translate with his size relatively similar to a Lawson Krause without being as much of a power forward. But that's just what I would assume, given how he would probably slot into an NHL lineup.
Yeah, I really like his play. Either any way this pie gets cut, man, this offseason is going to be one to remember. I think that this offseason is going to define Bill Armstrong's legacy as general manager of the Coyotes. This is going to be crazy. With all the cap space that he has, all of the assets that he can trade, including one of them being Jacob Chikrin, there's going to be... I'd be very disappointed if we saw nothing this offseason. So... man, it is an interesting one, and I can't wait. As for what Logan Cooley could do for this team, obviously he won't be jumping in right away after his draft because I believe he's already committed to one of the colleges, Minnesota, Michigan, one of the M colleges, I think. So he will be playing. Maybe it was Boston. I don't know. He's committed to a college, so he's not going to be playing.
Going to college.
Yeah, he's not going to be playing till maybe the potential like final 9 games of next season or the season after. I really like his play as an offensive threat. If you watch the way he thinks the game, it is that next generation. We saw it with all the young kids that have been coming in recently. You know, we saw Trevor Zegras with the Michigans and Svechnikov also with the Michigans, and just the way they think the game. I would look at his play style closer to a guy who just got drafted recently, which is Matty Beniers, where if you watch that kid play, like, these kids are learning that you don't have to hold on to the puck. You can chip it into a certain space and just skate for it. You know, and that's not just a dump. We're talking, you know, maybe making like a 3-foot little play and then getting around a guy and then, you know, continuing on with the play. You're seeing a lot more of that coming up, and it's very, very interesting to watch because that creativity, if you can figure that out, that's another deception play that you can do to just mix it up and make it harder for defensemen to defend you.
So, I guess to kind of tie back into the draft real quick, we have, you said it was 6 of the top 45 picks, and that's not including any potential Chikrin trades going into this draft?
I think it's either 6 or 7. We have 3 in the first. We have, it's 4 in the second. So I think it's 7 of the top 45 picks this upcoming draft will go to the Arizona Coyotes.
And then I think one of those got turned into Jack McBain's. But let's just say it's 5 assets. I was already saying how if they really wanted to, they managed it properly, they can essentially draft an entire new top line and defensive pairing. Yep. So I decided to ask, sometimes you got to throw yourself out there, the daily mailbag or the monthly mailbag. I asked Craig Morgan if this team, as soon as next year, with how young it's going to be, because the thing that about young rosters is they can take years to develop. They can also kind of boom or bust very quickly. Could they be competing for a second wild card spot as soon as next year? Not making the playoffs, just making it some sort of race. What do you think?
So it's a very interesting thought because a lot of people will go, well, look at how bad they were this year, and obviously that just shows how bad they're going to be next year. But the thing is if you look at all the assets that they had on this year's team, they were all older assets, guys trying to play for something, and there wasn't much left in their careers. Next year, we are going to see probably quite a large influx or fusion of young talent coming up from the AHL, the Carcones, the Jan Yannick's, those players are going to be coming in. The biggest question I'll have is if head coach Andre Tournier, I don't know why I messed that one up, if he can get these young kids to play as hard as the vets were this season. Because this season at the end, you could see it just, Tournier didn't have the assets to propel himself into the win column, but the effort was there. So I'd be very curious if he can keep the effort up, but actually have those assets that can produce more wins. Time will tell. Personally, I hope not, because next year's draft is going to have the next Connor McDavid at number 1, and that is Bedard. Yeah, Bedard.
The next McJesus.
Yeah,
what are those Connors? Garland, McDavid, Bedard. All good players.
It's a power name, apparently. But yeah, Bedard is looking really good, and the Russian is looking really good too. Is it Michkov? Matvey Michkov, I think is his name. He's looking very similar to like an Alex Ovechkin type. I'd be curious to see, where he ends up because of the Russian factor. Obviously, with everything that's going on, Russian picks are going to drop, especially in this year's draft. There are going to be a lot of players that are picked up later in the first and potentially in the second that you're going to go, why the heck did this guy drop? And it was because of, unfortunately, all the political problems going on right now in the world. But we are going to see some big steals, that is for sure. And yeah, it's going to be crazy. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I'm going to go ahead and I am excited as well. I just kind of want to answer the question from my perspective as the hopeless optimist. Again, if the drafting goes right and they're all players that end up coming in immediately, which is an unrealistic expectation, it could get interesting. I think, realistically speaking, 2 guys from this draft are probably going to make their debuts this season. I think that's probably a fair number out of those top 6 or 5 assets, not including a potential Chychrun trade. I don't necessarily think that it's going to happen as soon as next year, but I like to wonder. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask that question and kind of get a conversation going because, like I said, with these young rosters, it can go boom or bust very quickly. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of really good stuff to look forward to for Coyotes hockey. And apparently that was enough to get all the full season glass tickets to sell out already. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I did not.
The ASU Arena. Well, my wife got an email trying to solicit her for season tickets, and all of the full season, not there's some that should be held for individual games, some are half season, but all of the available full season glass tickets have been sold. That she was seeing
for ASU or for the Coyotes.
Yep.
Wow.
I was shocked when I saw that. I do need her to provide me the link too, so I can look at it from my own eyes. But still, I was shocked that would sell out, and not like the first 3 rows first, like the top 3 rows.
Yeah.
And almost quicker than I would have expected. My mantra of the people in the East Valley have more money than sense, seemingly is already going more wildly than I figured.
Yep. Well, I'd also be curious too, because as you're closer to town, centralized town, you're going to get more corporate sponsors, and I'd be curious to see what they can pull up for corporate sponsors being closer. We see some of the dealerships and some of the cleaning sponsors and stuff like that were there at Gila River Arena. I am really curious to see what ends up happening for sponsorships that you can get. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of companies over there, so that would be really interesting to see. And hearing about the board tickets already sold out, that's crazy. It just shows that there's passion here in the Valley, right? Like, as everybody wants to say, like, oh, there's no fans. Well, people are going to be buying these season ticket prices. I am fortunate enough to be locked in for 3 seats on partial season tickets. I'm not a full season ticket holder, but I have partials. I can't make it to any of the weekday games because of work, but the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday games, I attend because I'm able to make those days, and yeah, it's just crazy to see.
I unironically was shocked, and again, I was someone that I completely believed it when I said it. That like I said, people in East Valley have more money than sense. I've seen it. I've had to doing construction work, for years before I started doing what I'm doing now. I've seen the kind of money that gets invested out there in the Scottsdales, North Phoenix, that kind of area.
Yep.
I've seen the kind of money that goes in there. I was still shocked it sold that quickly. Obviously, you had the whole meme of, no one's going to pay for those ticket prices. Partially kind of funny, obviously, give a little bit of credit, but also kind of lazy and not exactly completely realistic. But just even my expectations being shattered like that.
Yeah.
Even more optimism going into next year. And I don't know if I remember years ago, it was either Budweiser or Bud Light, they were sponsored with, years ago, with the ASU deal, would they still be allowed to be sponsored with them, just not in arena on ice? So it'd be in the broadcast.
I would assume so.
Off-ice advertising.
Yeah, as long as
I kind of want to get that going because that's also a lot of good money.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just piss water, but it's very good, lucrative piss water.
Yeah, it sells. That's the thing, and I think they'll get alcohol. I don't think they'll have branding on the boards and stuff like that. Just because remember, ASU's still going to be playing in this arena. An 18-year-old freshman kid coming in to play ASU Division I hockey, the parents may not be happy seeing Budweiser ads or gambling ads or things like that on their boards. That would be something that they may not like, but they're definitely going to get in broadcast advertising. They're also going to be getting, I'm sure they'll get an alcohol license at the arena itself to actually sell alcohol. Go to any sports game here in the Valley, whether it's ASU, NAU, U of A, there's alcohol there. Everybody's going to be selling alcohol. It's just, that's sports. Everybody likes to get drunk and get rowdy and have a good time.
I was just going to say that as someone who went to my first ASU football game last season. I was just going to point out, to what I remember, because I kind of only walked around one half of the concourse, there was no beer advertising in there, but there was a lot of beer being sold because obviously 21, 22, 23-year-old kids in college, and then parents that are watching them and whoever, they like to get tossed in and watch sporting events. So they're obviously going to have money there. I'm just figuring more you'll see at the grocery store, when you're buying Coors Light or something, it'll have a team logo next to it. If the Coyotes are going to be securing sponsorships like that, and I think it's probably more likely that they get a sponsorship like that than when they were at GRA, when almost rapidly it seemed to me whatever excitement there was when the arena first opened kind of died down, and they were getting, I don't want to call them bottom of the barrel sponsors because I feel like that's disrespectful and you got to do what you got to do. But when one of the 4 on-ice logos was Waste Management, I was scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah.
And the actual board advertising was Verve Energy. You remember that back in 08?
Yeah, you take whatever you can get at that point. Whoever's going to give you money. I remember those. Another thing I wanted to say, too, because this is a narrative that a lot of people have been pushing, which is that the prices are going to be too expensive for college students to go to the games. I think we talked about this last week. But
we did almost every week.
there are going to be college student sections. The prices are going to be cheaper on those college student sections. I would not be surprised. Slower games, maybe like the Coyotes versus a boring team that's not very good. That doesn't sell well. I can't think of off the top of my head. I hate to use. Yeah, I hate to use them as an example, but Buffalo. I was literally about to say that Buffalo would probably be an example of a team that is slower and boring. They're going to have student rush days if they don't sell out those tickets. They're going to do it. They're going to have buses that are just going to take them from Mill Avenue straight to the game. That's how it's going to happen. And if you don't know what Mill Avenue is because you haven't been in Arizona, that is the beer hub of ASU. It is massive. There are tons of people there on the weekends. I've driven for Uber and Lyft, and I've picked people up from that area late at night. Now, granted, this is 12 midnight to 2 a.m. time. It is insane. It is actually insane. There are just people everywhere, and you're going to be seeing that. You're going to be seeing these people come in. And another thing too that I wanted to say, not all college students are poor. Now, granted, there are a lot of college students that actually work for themselves. They work their way through college. They work a full-time job and go to college. And yeah, those people are not going to be able to go to the games. Most likely. They can't afford it. These are the people that, we say, it looks like I'm eating ramen again for dinner, because they're working really hard to help themselves. But that's not everybody in college. There are a lot of college students who get paid by mommy and daddy to go to college. They're also going to have mommy and daddy's money in order to go to these games. I've seen it firsthand from college students who couldn't get into, I said this I think last week too, who couldn't get into university schools in California or Ivy League schools in the East Coast, and go, well, can't get in there, I guess I'll go to ASU and party. And guess what? These people are, students with parents that have millions of dollars, and you're going to be seeing those kids go to school. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen foreign exchange students. I've literally picked up Chinese exchange students who didn't speak a lick of English, and they're walking around with extremely high-end clothing brands and stuff like that. You don't think those people aren't going to be like, screw it, we'll go and have fun and party at a hockey rink or whatever? Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's all I got to say.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, I'll point out one last time just before I kind of go back a couple of seconds. But there's a reason why they're not selling season tickets in every single part of the arena. Like I said, I think it's the South End, or at least the South End equivalent for GRA, because I don't know which way the arena's going to face. Mostly going to be student section. There's an entire bleacher section. I don't know. I forgot how much it was for other games. I know whenever I got my ASU tickets, I got them from the radio, little promo code, whatever. But it was super cheap. I guarantee that there are going to be a lot of kids filing in there. And just to add some context, Westgate. I've been on the Westgate's probably dead train. I'm surprised they're building as much around as possible. I'm surprised it's actually staying as relevant with the addition of Tanger Outlet, but it's mostly on that Tanger side and the outside of it. On Saturday nights, it can get really packed. Obviously, football games, it gets really packed. Same thing with concerts. I don't know about the most recent one because GRA was just a disaster for that last big old country concert, but I've seen how busy it can get over there. Mill Ave, the handful of times I've done some drinking over there, is that times 10. It's the best way to describe it is if you're from the West Coast, you're used to more big open areas, a little more dispersed population. It's what you'd probably envision New York being like. It does not mean it's as populated. It means that's what you'd probably think. So just to give you an idea of how busy it always is.
As somebody who's stepped on Times Square in New York, yeah, it is like New York, like when you go to the bar areas and there's just people on top of each other, every square inch of especially, oh my goodness, especially when the Waste Management comes in, which is golf. For all of you who don't know what that is,
the Phoenix
it
Open.
Is insane. I drove through there on Lyft, and I was making insane money. I'll get into that real quick. For Lyft, and every square inch had a human being on it. The sidewalks were literally just packed. It was crazy, and I was making insane money because there was so much demand for people to be picked up. And at the time, I drove a 2006 Honda Pilot. And that has obviously driver's seat, passenger seat, three seats in the back, and then I also had another back seat with 3 more rows. So I could pick up 7 people total, 3, 1. And because I had that demand, I could charge for being a luxury, or not luxury, like a large size vehicle. I would get tickets where I would drop 7 people off, and I would make $200 in 30 minutes. It was crazy.
And nobody questioned it or cared.
Yeah, because
literally because that's how much in demand the ride was. They did not care.
And also remember, when you have friends and you have 7 people splitting that $200 ticket, that lowers the price. So it works out for everybody, and you can get the heck out, and you don't have to worry about ordering 3 or 4, Ubers and Lyfts with your friends and stuff like that. Yeah, it was crazy that area during Waste Management time. I think Waste Management comes through during the Coyotes season,
It's
doesn't
normally
it?
during the Coyote season, and just to kind of show you how crazy that is, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, I don't know if it has moved at all. Last I saw was in like the Scottsdale North Phoenix area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right here. Tempe's way back here, like along the freeway, just to show you if it's that busy all throughout. And then of course when school's in on any weekend, any given weekend day, for the most part, like if you want there to go there when it's kind of died down, you go on like a Sunday morning, or you just kind of go mess around when everyone's in class. If
Yep.
you want things to be like kind of chill over by that Tempe Town Lake and Mill Ave area. So just
Yep.
saying, there's going to be a lot of people that are bored. That kind of the similar effect to downtown Phoenix. If I'm going, like, I don't go to drink in downtown Phoenix because that's way too pricey for my taste. But if you're going there to drink, you have a bit of jangle in your pocket. Oh, what's going on over here at the America West Arena? There's a bunch of people walking in. Oh, hockey? What's that? Oh, go check it out. Same concept, just a little bit further out,
Yep.
and more people
This
are kind of in a partying mood as opposed to like I'm just
Yep.
gonna blow a bunch of money on high end whiskey mood.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. Like, how many people at Gila River Arena in the West Side, in Glendale, how many people were walk-up traffic going, oh, what's this? Okay, yeah, sure, I'll pay for this and go watch. Like, versus where they are now, right? It's the same thing with basketball. Like, how many people do you think at the Suns, even when they were crap, people went, oh, there's a game on tonight? All right, I'll go buy some tickets and go watch, right? Like, probably a lot more common because you're more centrally located where the most populace is located.
Same thing with the Rattlers. Why do you think they want to be in Footprint Center as much as possible? Because they were supposed to, for 2 years, go to GRA. 2020 season gets canceled, and then as soon as 2021 comes back, they don't go to Glendale, which made me kind of sad because it's just right up the road for me, essentially. But seeing how they're still having pretty healthy attendance, especially with attendance across the board in every league went down for a while because people, surprise, surprise, are trying to get back on their feet, and the first thing that gets cut is stuff like entertainment, including sports, like live sports. But they still wanted to be down in Phoenix, and every now and again they'll do stuff like the last game, $5 tickets in the upper concourse. They open up like half the sections, up behind where I was at, and just $5, people come in. That's more people buying beer, buying food, buying merchandise. You can do that when you have enough foot traffic. When there's 20 or 30 people kind of, oh, I guess we'll go to Fat Tuesday because where else are we going to drink? Oh, what's going on over here? They charge us $15 to park. Phoenix, you're used to paying to park. Tempe, I'm assuming you're also used to paying to park.
Oh, yeah.
Out here in the West Valley, you're not used to it. So if you're going down there, you're going to see like hockey traffic, concert traffic, whatever. Like you're not getting a whole lot of walk-ups. You're getting a lot of, I'll find somewhere else to go, or I guess I'll just still go through with my plans. So you're not going to get a lot of people that are just going to walk in, unless you're doing super cheap tickets, which the Coyotes just can't do anymore, unless it's like a student rush against Nashville on a Tuesday, and it's like we've sold 3,000 tickets, let's just get a bunch of drunk college kids in here.
Yep. Yeah, that place will be sold out every single game. I am 100% convinced of that. And if it is not, that is a bad look for Arizona. I will not deny that fact. But I'm confident that we are no longer going to be in the bottom echelon of when we see those lists every year of how many arenas are at capacity, right? And it shows like Buffalo at 40% and Ottawa at like 60%, and then us at like 80% or 70% or whatever. So yeah, I'm confident that we're going to sell quite well here. And to get back on the rails here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Cap Friendly and how Cap Friendly updated their numbers. This podcast will go out on Sunday. We're recording early today, which is Thursday. And so we actually have some updated numbers for what the cap space is looking like for the Coyotes, because I'll be honest, I wasn't going to be willing to do all that math because my brain will not compute. We do have a couple RFAs that we need to sign, including, I have the list here, Lawson Krause, Kristen Fischer, Barrett Hayden, Capobianco, Cam Deneen, And that looks to be it for RFAs that need to get signed. Coronar as well, but
You just let Kozanash go. He sucked last year.
Kozanash.
You already brought Ivan back. You have David Tendick down there in the A. I think there's I don't know why Rasmus Cronin. I have no idea why I forgot his name for a second. So you're gonna have goalies down there. I assume Ivan. This is gonna be the year where they're gonna have him up most of the year and really see like, hey, what do we have in this goaltender at the NHL level, and then probably go from there.
Yeah.
So they should be fine. The Roadrunners can sign an extra goalie or two as well if they need to. I don't think they have to worry about Kozanash. On the defensive end, I would say prioritize Cap at like a 2-year extension, but it wouldn't be a very long or very high dollar extension. Cam Dineen's a 50-50. I liked what he did, but I also feel almost anyone else they could get could fill the exact same 7th D kind of role. Connor Timmins going to be coming back. Maybe you sign him, maybe you don't. I'll leave it up to GMBA. I know Lawson Krause, they already said they were already focusing on that like towards the end of the season. And Christian Fischer, I've been saying he sucks for years. Just let him go. You can like him all you want, anyone watching. I don't. I think he's overrated as hell. Lawson Krause fills the exact same role but can actually score. Just move on from Fischer. You have Liam O'Brien. He doesn't do much, but he does more than Fischer, I guess.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I love Fischer as a person. He had one of my favorite answers of all time when they were talking about what was your best or your most favorite Christmas food. And nobody else said it except for him, this is my favorite as well, which is the mashed potatoes and gravy. He was the only guy to say that, and I was like, yes, you're my favorite, Christian Fischer, because that is my favorite as well. I love the mashed potatoes and gravy. And I mean, my guess is they probably will bring him back, but for no more than league minimum, less than a mil over league minimum, somewhere in there. It would be my guess. But just to quickly go over this list here. So we have Lawson Krause, probably about $2 million, I would say, like if I had to guess. So that's $2 million. Christian Fischer, less than $1 million. I'm just gonna peg it at $1 million just to make the math easy. So that's $3 million. Barrett Hayden, once again, probably another $2 million. Like
I was gonna say, do you give him two and a quarter because you're gonna want him on like a 3-year contract because this is kind of like his big bridge to see what are you gonna become. So you get obviously with the pretty good 2-way play, you give him his little pay raise and kind of see where it goes from there.
So I would say like $2 million as well, like a 2x2. That would be my guess because remember he hasn't played all that much either. Like he's been constantly injured. So he doesn't have the games played to really like demand a lot of money. So I would go $2 million. So that's $5 million right there. As for Capobianco, probably another $1 million. So that's $6 million. Cam Dineen, I mean it's going to be a league minimum $750K if he even gets signed. But we'll just put him on that list just to have him. So. We'll put $750K. I'm going to round up to make the math easy. So that's about $7 million of players that you need to get signed. Currently, the Coyotes have cap space of $33 million. So to minus the math on that, that is $26 million that they have to play with this season. And remember, that's also including, because we are in the offseason, that's also including the IR contracts, which is Brian Little, which is another $5 million that will be pulled back once we hit, I think, preseason or something like that. So if we add that math on top of it, technically the cap space that they have going into the season is also another $5 million of the 26. So that is $31 million.
$31 million
that they currently have.
Listen, we could go get John Tavares.
Oh God, no.
But, like, just to put it in perspective, like, if the Coyotes truly wanted to, just with the cap space, not with, like, oh, hey, you're going to be playing in, like, a 5,000-seat arena, just cap space alone, take everything else to the side, they could go get the 3 top free agents just with FU money if they chose to. What they should do and what they're going to do is they're going to take bad contracts that teams really can't maximize value on just to move on from so they can get better upgrades and players throughout. We're going to be getting some draft picks, some pretty good prospects, and one by a Mr. Audie James. He was DMing me, asking me what the Coyotes would probably, do to take on, was it Nikita Zaitsev? I want to make sure I'm getting the name correctly. And I just threw out probably a second-round pick and a decent prospect because his cap space, $4.5 million cap hit for the next 2 years, isn't as high as Ladd's. It's a little bit lower, so it's not going to be a first. Probably isn't going to be 2 seconds. But I can see a second-round pick and like a decent prospect, or probably like a middle of the road kind of guy you can plug into the roster this year with an expiring contract.
Yep. Yeah, I would definitely say that. I would say it's either going to be like a second and then like a B tier prospect, or maybe a third and an A tier prospect, or just the contract and a really good prospect. A name that I would put out there as a really good prospect, which I don't think they're going to get rid of. Let me be very, very clear here. But I do really like Shane Pinto on that team. I seriously doubt that they will trade him to us. But if you put like a Shane Pinto and Nikita Zaitsev on that contract, I would be okay with that. But I doubt that. Just for people who don't know who Shane Pinto is, he's a second-round pick in 2019, and he is a big boy. He is 6'2", 195 on cap friendly, but I personally think he might be a little bit bigger. He seems like a 6'3", 6'4 type player. He is a big guy. He is very physical, and I'm very enamored with his play. I think he's a very good player. So could make sense for them though. Like if they go out there and they are going after like a legitimate first line center to bump Stützle down, they no longer need a Shane Pinto. That could be an option for them. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. They do have some pretty good center depth on that team as well. So a Shane Pinto may not be necessary for them. Just food for thought.
Any other bad contracts you're thinking of? So anyway, Audie, yes, we'll take him, but we would like a Pinto bean and a second-round pick. Anyway, so any other bad contracts you can think of? Obviously, I have no idea why my brain was thinking this. I was thinking Suter and Parise, but they're buyouts. They're not active contracts anymore, at least the way that it is, and you can't just trade off a buyout penalty.
Nope.
But what are some contracts you could think of other than maybe like Shea Weber that are probably like really going to be on this market?
So obviously Shea Weber, like you just said, would be one. Another thought process that I had for bad contracts, I mean, San Jose has a ton of them, but I don't want those because they go on for literally forever. So I don't think those will be moved. I'm trying to think of another bad contract.
But you know what? It would be ironic to punish EK65 if he didn't have a no-trade clause. I'm pretty sure his contract has a no-trade clause. But he's like, oh, I'm not here for a rebuild. But it's like, but you literally took up, what was it, $11 million in cap space, and there's nothing, that there's no wiggle room here. I think that would be funny.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think he has a no-trade clause. I wouldn't mind Marc-Edouard Vlasic. I think he has, it's 3 more years after this year, or is it 4? It's a little long, but it's not.
It's let me go look. Marc-Edouard Vlasic is 4 more years.
I wouldn't mind getting him, but what would you, if you're GMBA, demand to take on 4 years of that contract?
Yeah,
that's going right into the window where we should be getting better.
Yeah, that's a big ask. So I think any contract that's 3 years away is probably one that we'd be willing to take up, because any of our prospects that need big contracts won't be in that window, that time frame. So like Brent Burns is $8 million with 3 years left. Like that's a contract that we could take on. Once you hit that 4-year range, I think it becomes much more harder, because all of a sudden, let's say Logan Cooley plays and all of a sudden he does get 11 games in at the end of the season for whatever reason, right? And then all of a sudden he's a full-timer. Well, that's 3 years of your contract burn. He's going to need a new contract. What if he blows up the league and he's asking for $8 million, right? Well, now that you've taken on Marc-Edouard Vlasic, you have one more at $7 million. You screw yourself over. Whereas with Brent Burns, you have 3 years left, and as he becomes a UFA, all of a sudden that $8 million gets freed up to pay Logan Cooley. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals here. So I think that a 3-year contract is probably about max that you'd be willing to take on, unless they give you some real sweet assets.
So what are those assets you demand? If they're like, no, we want to keep Brent Burns, we need to get rid of Mark-Edouard Vlasic.
If they want to get rid of Vlasic or Carlson, I'm asking for the kid they drafted last year. I really like the kid they drafted last year. Let me go.
What's his name? Oh,
Eklund?
He's a freaking stud. Yeah, Eklund?
Yeah, Eklund.
The kid's a stud.
I would be asking for Eklund. I would be like, yeah, you're giving me Eklund if we're going to be taking on that garbage of a contract. That kid looks real sweet. Yeah, Eklund. William Eklund. Mm-hmm. Yeah, stud. I like him.
So that's not going to happen. So what other bad contracts you thinking? Probably Burns is realistic, depending on if they want to keep him around for like fanfare or whatever. Obviously Shea Weber, because he will likely not play again. I don't know if they ever specified why, but besides injury.
Yeah,
I don't know if they ever specified what it was.
So that's a great point. I think it's a leg. I want to say it's a knee or an ankle or something like that he's done. That's a great point, though, is contracts that we're going to be taking on. It also, you're going to be paying more if they're players that will still play in the NHL. So a Mark-Edouard Vlasic, he's not going on LTIR. He's going to be playing no matter where he is, right? And with that being said, that asking price is going to be more expensive versus a Shea Weber. A Shea Weber, you toss it onto the LTIR, you only got to pay, I believe it's 10% of that cap, and all of a sudden it's monopoly money, right? Another one that I had in mind that I was just looking for is the the Flyers. Thank you. I thank you for your help. I knew you could get through that one.
I'm so good at this.
James Van Riemsdyk was one that I was interested in because he has one more year left at $7 million, and they do have some RFAs that need to get signed. And currently they have a projected cap space of $5 million. So some of those names include Nate Thompson, Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, Zach McEwen, Keith Yandel is not coming back. Connaughton probably not coming back. Martin Jones is a UFA. Don't know about that one. They also have Sean Couturier and Ryan Ellis on LTIR, injured reserve, not LTIR. Those guys will be making their way back. I don't think that those are going to be long-term out of the lineup. But James Van Riemsdyk at $7 million, I could see that being a potential trade. That could be something. Now, the problem is that Bill Armstrong loves his second-round picks, and they've already traded away their second-round picks to us.
But we can trade them Shane Gostisbehere.
We could trade them
JVR. They have a first-round pick? Because Gostisbehere is a pretty great asset right now.
The problem is that with how bad the Flyers were, I seriously doubt that they'll be trading us any first, especially next year with how loaded that draft is, unless they are real crazy, but I don't think they're going to do that. So you'd have to be looking at assets in order to pick up that JVR contract. And as for assets, let me just scroll through real quick.
Ristolainen.
A name that's out there. Oh, God, please no. I don't need him on my team.
I want chaos. Give me chaos.
A name that is out there, he's a smaller player, but Bobby Brink. I know a lot of people are high on Bobby Brink. That is.
Would you take Carter Hart to have more goaltending depth? He's had a couple of bad years. I don't want to blame him too much. There obviously has to be some blame going his way. But do you think Philadelphia questions themselves about Carter Hart moving forward enough for the Coyotes to swoop in? Because I would not mind Vejmelka, Hart, and Prosvetov all fighting for a net. Because I feel like that can get some good results.
That is a very interesting one, though, but I don't know if they're going to be doing that. Because the reason I say that is Carter Hart's very young. He's 23. He is their only future in net. And you only have JVR for one more year. So how desperate you are to trade away like an amazing asset like Carter Hart, I mean, they'd have to be really desperate. I doubt that one. I would really doubt that one. Another one that I was thinking of was Cam York. They do like him a lot, but that would be another one that I would be like, gimme if you could try to get the opportunity.
So pretty much, I'm going to expect the John Tavares and Austin Matthews package together for Christian Fischer, 2-for-1 baby, in the next month. But speaking of in the next month, it's only technically next month, but it's in about a week. We have a vote scheduled. City of Tempe, even themselves, came out and announced on Twitter that on the 2nd they will vote on this Coyotes Arena proposal. This vote is not the end-all be-all unless it is. Allow me to explain. If they vote yes, that means that they will have further hearings and the city can now negotiate with the Coyotes, with whomever they hire to oversee this project, and try to come up with prices, try to come up with an actual realistic plan. It would still require, I think it's 2 more yes votes, because it's a whole process. It'd be like a 4 to 6 month process. But it would mean we're on the right path and things should be going good. They still, like that, Coyotes are moving, next month. If it's after 6 months, I still vote no. That still is a possibility, but not the most realist or not the most likely. If they vote no, that also does not mean that the Coyotes are going to be forced to relocate, but what it does mean is we are literally backs against the wall. The firing squad is getting ready, because that means that the city of Tempe can essentially open the land back up for more proposals and whatnot, and the Coyotes would either have to resubmit, which I don't know if the owners will be feeling very patient if that ends up happening for whatever reason, because you're looking at what was wrong with your proposal. Was it financing? Was it the poor relationship with the city of Glendale that made them apprehensive? So that it's gonna look really bad, but the Coyotes would still have the option to go to the Indian community that owns the land. It's like a mile away from it, and still potentially go in there. Whether it is just you'll get the traffic and none of the money to get Tempe to come back to any sort of negotiating table down the line, whether it's that's our backup plan, that's what we're going for, or whether it's everything's falling apart, this team's relocating in the next year. No means one of those 3 things, whereas yes simply means time to actually negotiate. No matter what, the second is either going to be a very stressful day or one of the most bittersweet, happy feelings, because we are not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, it would be did you ever watch MXC or play Fall Guys or anything like that? And there's the Picador. Okay, so there's in MXC there's a Picador thing, right? And there's people and they're running through it's literally just 4 doors. You have to jump in and jump through the door, and then you have another door and you have to guess again and jump through the door. That is what June 2nd is. It is essentially we jump through one door and then there's another door. So we're not just yay, everybody celebrate. We got the yes vote, but we jump through that first hurdle and then we'll jump through another hurdle and we'll start making our way there. Just to put in consideration is if we do get a yes vote on June 2nd, then all of a sudden people can start voicing their concerns to the council. So let's say you are Miranda and you own the bread company right next door, right? Oh, I don't like this deal because this is going to hurt my business. I will no longer be able to work properly, blah, 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 blah. I live in this home. I don't want the noise complaint. Everybody gets to voice their opinions and concerns. But if Tempe was smart, I mean, what else are you going to use a landfill for? Landfill stuff, right?
There's plenty of dirt, even surrounding Tempe. They can put another landfill.
Yeah.
They put this up for commercial purposes because they're hey, this is pretty prime land now, considering how much Tempe has developed.
Yep.
Let's see if we can make more. It was a dollar sign thing, and the Coyotes, like I said, were the only company, the only presence that even had a proposal to go there. So it's you got to look at it as either, we can get more out of the Coyotes, we can get more out of someone else competing with the Coyotes, or, you know what, Susie down the road, her bakery's been here since 1945, and I don't want to see history die. It's pretty much that scenario, or it's hey, we put it out here for money. This is a pretty good deal. Or we put it out there for money. Let's see how they negotiate. Let's move forward. But it also could fall apart because of those complaints. It's again, we're not out of the woods if the vote is yes, because that's why I mentioned the whole bittersweet thing, because it could literally the next meeting fall apart or the next meeting go great. And the meeting after that, when there's another vote, oh, now it's not looking too hot. It's kind of terrifying, but that's just how bureaucracy is. And at the very least, you at least know that there is some sort of process that's working properly if Susie down the road gets to voice her concerns about her bread shop.
Yep. It is, bureaucracy is the slow-moving train, but it is very hard to stop. So as long as that train keeps moving, as slow as it is, it will keep moving. So it sucks that it's that slow. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see it to be faster, but there's a reason it's that slow. It's because it is like a train. If you worked your government like, some other countries did, that train is more like a school bus or even just a regular bus and could be knocked off the rails real quick, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Let's pull back for a second. Let's just go through your mindset. The vote is no.
Mm-hmm.
What's going through your head? What would be the next logical step? What's your level of concern for the team relocating? Just the vote is no. There is no context why. We'll hear more in a week. Go.
Okay, so if the vote is no, I'm immediately going to plan B, because the Coyotes aren't that dumb. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They have multiple options. They have multiple plans that they've been talking with other people about. Even just like hey, what do you think of this idea, right? Like, they have tons of plans and tons of options. They are going to be in talks with, like you were saying, the native communities and their land right next door. They're going to go talk with them and be like, hey, yo, remember that plan we were talking about? You want to make a lot of money? Oh, you like gambling on your casinos and stuff? What if we put a casino in the building? Just saying.
With their logos everywhere on the ice, on the boards. That would be such a lucrative opportunity. And, I don't know if it works this way around the entire country. I know Vegas is one of those areas where it's like anyone can own a casino pretty much. But in Arizona, it's gaming rights are exclusive to the native communities. So that's why they would be going to the native communities for this. But just turning nothing land into, here's a big entertainment district with hotels and whatever. But it was the Gila River community, right? That's the community that owns that land that belongs to them, or was it?
No, I think it's oh goodness, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll look it up.
You look that up.
Yeah.
But it's, hey, we'll have these hotels or whatever, but they're, let's say it was V Quiva, but they're now a V Quiva hotel. They're a this hotel and casino. We're gonna have multiple hotels and casinos in this area. It's gonna be basically like Vegas light, like a small little section.
Salt River community.
Salt River community. So it could be any casino that they would have a naming right to. Right there, boom. You can even have the name be after the Salt River community. That would be a very good deal that too many people don't really acknowledge. I think the main reason they don't want to go that route immediately, not like don't want it at all, is because there are very strict rules and regulations when dealing with the native communities, because whatever land they own, they essentially govern. Even the feds don't really have, like, there's a couple small things the feds can say here or there, but it's very, very limited. So that's probably why that would be a secondary or third option. But there's also, they could go to the Diamondbacks and be like, hey, you have all these repairs that Phoenix doesn't want to do for you. How about you let us play hockey here throughout our seasons, have a similar setup to Tampa Bay for a couple of years. We'll chip into some of these renovations. We'll help out with this roof. We'll do whatever, and then just go back to Tempe.
I don't know how well that will. I appreciate your thought process on that, but that building is beyond saving.
But it just gives us more options. That's it.
Yes, it does. Options. It does give us more options. I appreciate the thought process, but that building is going to be demoed. It will not be repaired. My grandfather actually worked on the roof of both State Farm Stadium, whatever the hell it's called now, the Cardinal Stadium and that stadium. He was an architect, and he helped work on that There's actually we have a picture of him where he's standing on the top of the Diamondbacks roof as it was opening, and yeah, that building is in serious need of repair. I don't think they're going to be able to. I think they'll have to demo it. And the reason I say that is because if you know anything about architect or what is it, engineering, civil engineering, you can go to the bottom of the crypts of the building, and what they used to do is they used to spray down the concrete with water to clean it off and stuff like that. And, well, what happens is it eroded the concrete over a while, started cracking, and then the water gets into it, and then the pieces break apart. And there's parts of that building where like the concrete's gone, and you can see just corroded beams, which is like big red flag. That is like, if you are a civil engineer, like that is like, this should be condemned. That's how bad it is, and they are playing there still. Yeah, it is. It is not good. So the repairs needed for that
save Richard's butt. Big fat allegedly. Just in case. Just in case anyone from the Diamondbacks or the city of Phoenix gets very angry at what we just said. Big fat asterisk that is technically alleged.
Allegedly, yes. I mean, you can see it on the lower concourse that the concrete is like not doing so hot, and like once again, what I'm saying is my opinion, and it is alleged, so I'll definitely make sure to say that. But if you are a civil engineer or you are anybody that looks at stuff, that is a big red flag, and that is the reason why they need repairs, is because of stuff like that.
There's also, they could, if worst comes to worst, because it's only really used around fair time, you can go back to the Madhouse on McDowell, and essentially, I don't know if they would ever purchase it, but they could be like, hey, we're getting a 10-year lease here, don't worry about the cooling towers. We will literally redo that and redo the bowl area. So the seats are all nice, modern, whatever. Like, it all depends on. It's gonna go down. There's probably 4 options right now. Those are going down that list. You have the Tempe Arena. You have the Salt River Community. You have probably Chase Field and then Madhouse in that exact order. And then also you can see costs going up the further down you go.
Yeah.
That's probably why they went right to ASU and Tempe as opposed to going immediately to like Chase or something.
Yeah, it was still cheaper to go to ASU and put that $25 million annex in than it would be to go to Madhouse on McDowell, which is the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, if you don't know what we're talking about. Honestly, if they're like, we're going to put a 10-year lease in on Veterans Memorial, I would say big red flag, and you might want to look at relocating the franchise if that was their last option. Now, obviously, if let's say you go 3 years at ASU, and then we're going to go 1 more year at Veterans or something, or 2 years at Veterans as we're getting this other arena built, I think that's fine. But yeah, if you're going, hey, we're going to put a 10-year lease in, that's not good enough, because that place is very old. It was built in the 70s. It is, matter of fact, I don't know if it's the exact blueprints, but it's very close to the blueprints that the Saddle Dome in Calgary currently uses. It is very close. And there's not enough seats for it to be sustainable. And as the salary cap continues to go up, those seats, you need more and more of them. And it being only, I think, 13,000 seats, 14,000 seats, I don't think that's good enough. Yeah, honestly, I'd be better off going with some of the crazy conspiracy theories that I've seen of put them in Houston for a couple years to play at that arena, then build your arena in Arizona, then move them back to Arizona, and then put an expansion team in Houston. I think that would be more logical. And before anybody's like, what that makes no sense. Basketball, I think it was, or maybe it was football. One of those two sports did that with one of their teams. When was it? One of the hurricanes came in. Was maybe Katrina or
was that with the Hornets? Well, they're now
maybe
Pelicans, but was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, and then they relocated Seattle to OKC because there was a market there.
Yeah,
but the main reason I bring up the Madhouse is because if it comes down to they can essentially look, we have no other options to stay here while we're stalling out talks with Tempe. I'd rather them spend stupid money to add more seats and renovate and modernize that building that's already there than go somewhere else. Because the problem is, for something like basketball, it's a little more universal, all right? Anyone, rich or poor, could play basketball. Basketball itself is not that expensive. Hockey is much more... It's much more,
a
costly.
rich person sport.
So and on top of that, if the Coyotes move, and it's like, okay, we're just moving until you build a new arena, not only is there no guarantee that new arena will be built, also let's say the city of Tempe, well, why aren't we getting revenue now while the building's being built? Why are you sending this revenue to Houston? Or it might be, that's just a cover story, we're just moving the team to Houston, you're not getting another arena. To me, that would make less sense than spending a stupid amount of money to make the Madhouse viable as a modern building. Because I'll take 13.5 or whatever it is over 4,700 if it comes down to keeping my team here. Because at least the tickets wouldn't have to be as bad as they are in ASU down there, and at the very least, it gives you more time and more options. But that's also why I listed that as the last possible option.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's why it's a 10 years, because it's like, that's the last resort, how are we going to keep this team here? It shouldn't go anywhere near Chase Field, let alone the Madhouse option. But there are options.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd question that. Because if you're going to go with a 10-year lease, you might as well just go back to Gila River Arena. I don't know. How much
at least
closer?
Madhouse is right there. It's only 10 minutes outside of the downtown area, so you're on the same freeway. You're not really going, the extra half an hour. It's still shaving off about half an hour of drive time, and it's still right there in Phoenix. The biggest problem you're going to come into is, like my brother-in-law said, you don't want all these nice drunk Canadians getting stabbed on their way outside of the arena.
Yeah, so that's a big one, because it is in a more rundown area. The other thing being, too, is when's the last time we've seen, full-scale traffic of a 13,000 attendance building go back onto the main roads all at once? Because all those main roads have been changed since that building used to be sold out for the Roadrunners. Have we had any big concerts there? I'd be really curious to see how
they had the Suns
infrastructure
play there for the preseason and their 50th anniversary. But and the Mercury played there, I think, in the 2020 season. The Mercury spent some time there too. They didn't want to go to Gila River; they wanted to stay in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then the Rattlers had their season canceled, so it didn't really matter for them. But they were the ones that were going to Glendale. Even then, I like the Mercury. I go to a handful of games throughout the year, mainly because I get free tickets, and it's not as packed as even a lot of the Coyotes games I've been to.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would be comparable. So what? Maybe we're talking 8,000 people on main roads for any of those, or obviously more for that Suns game, but that was damn near a decade ago. It feels.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to see how the infrastructure could hold up.
Which is a fair concern. Like I said, that's why that's my last option.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all these opinions are very fair. I think, honestly, that is your D plan. I think you're more likely to see them at the Diamondbacks than probably at Veterans at this point. I think the money's not there.
Is there a way to the same concept for soldering onto a board, but it's putting more steel onto a beam so it doesn't die? Can they just patch it?
Maybe. I don't know how that works. I think, to get real technical, I think you have to cut the rebar out and then lay new rebar with new concrete. It is a pain in the butt, and then you also have to have support as you're doing that cutting process. So it is, that's why I was saying, you want to talk about Astrobucks. I think repairing all that concrete is going to be Astrobucks for the D-backs arena.
So on the bright side, when you're watching the Coyotes lift the cup in 2025 from Section 302 at the D-backs arena, remember, it's better than getting stabbed on your way out.
That is true. That is true. They have very nice security at the D-backs games. I will say they've mastered the ability of getting people out quickly after a nice loss.
Oh, that hurts. I'm so used to losing in this state, though. Anyway, those are our thoughts. That's kind of what's going through our mind. Hell, I think we made it through an entire episode without any Canada slander. I feel weird. I feel...
Oh, I can slander. Real quick. Wait. I got one. No, whatever that trade was that I think Kyprios put up on today's episode or a couple days episode, I guess for you guys as you're listening, a few days ago, he said something about, I can't remember the exact trade, but it was like
William the Leafs?
Yeah, it was like William Nylander in the first for Krause and Chychrun, and I'm like, go kick rocks. You are
I'll take
insane.
Nylander, but you're not having Krause, and that's the problem. Is Nylander's a good player. I feel like I'm not going to compare play styles. I'm just going to compare like basic production and /or role on the team. Krause is more valuable to me than Nylander. And if you're taking Chychrun, I want a first and a good prospect, or a first, a second, like some garbage or whatever. We're not doing a 1-for-1 for Chychrun and a first, and then we're not doing Krause. So we'll take on your William Nylander contract that, it's actually not that bad. If you're trying to get rid of it, it is that bad. Whether the player is bad or not, which he's not, the contract is bad.
He has 2 more years. He's 26. He has 2 more years on that contract. Why the heck would we do that? We are going to be bad for most likely for another 2 more years. He's going to be gone by the time that we're even relevant. Like, that trade makes literally no sense for the Coyotes. We're not doing that. There's not a stone's throw and chance in hell that we would be doing a trade like that. So go kick rocks. Yeah, that's my slander for the day. Last thing I was going to say, I forgot. Another trade that we could do in the offseason would be to correct the incorrect trade at the trade deadline and pick up Evgeny Dadonov and take Vegas's first from them for that trade to get them out of cap hell. Anyways,
I will take Daddy, but I also want Jonathan Marchessault though, because I need to have a short right-handed shot winger on my team at all times.
True. Very true. All right, well...
It's not an actual demand. It's not happening. I just thought it'd be fun.
This podcast went to its full time. We were supposed to do... I'll let you guys in a little secret. We were supposed to do a 30-minute podcast, but that never happens. That's not you. It's just we talk, and we just love to talk BS about the Coyotes and bring in our thoughts and stuff like that. So anyways, I think this is a pretty good episode. Make sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform that you are listening to this on. And anything else that you want to say, Mr. Shaved Head Matt?
Yes, actually. I find it funny. I have the shaved head and beard, and I have a Stepan jersey right here next to me. I'm just seeing that irony. I'm going to be going to Comic-Con this weekend, so yesterday when you're watching this, as Derek Stepan.
All right. We'll see you guys later.